Hello, in this video I am going to review page 270, numbers 29 to 37 odd. Again, remember our unit circle, our 3 points, the pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3 families. How we keep reviewing with you the ordered pairs. The pi over 6 and pi over 3 are just flipped. But at this point you should know those. That will help you a lot with these assignments. Okay, so 29. The problem is t equals -5 pi over 3, and the directions for 29 and 31 tell us to evaluate, if possible, the sine, cosine, and tangent of the real numbers. Okay, so in 29, we have -5 pi over 3, so the first thing you should do is find where that is on our unit circle, so right here. Okay, if you want to write the ordered pair of that location, okay, since we're in quadrant 1, it's positive. So it's 1/2, which is your cosine, and your sine is square root 3 over 2. So I think writing that ordered pair probably helps you a lot still at this point. So your sine of -5 pi over 3 is square root 3 over 2. Your cosine of -5 pi over 3 is 1/2. And your tangent of -5 pi over 3, remember, is our sine over our cosine. So square root 3 over 2 over 1/2. When you reduce that, you're getting square root 3. Okay, 31, same directions. We have -pi over 6. So -pi over 6 is right here. Okay, so our ordered pair for pi over 6 family is square root 3 over 2 and 1/2, but since we're in quadrant 4, okay, we have square root 3 over 2, comma, -1/2. Okay, so our sine and cosine, again, if you need to jot this down, you can. Your sine of -pi over 6 is -1/2. Your cosine of -pi over 6 is square root 3 over 2. And your tangent is always sine over cosine. So -1/2 over square root 3 over 2. Okay, when you reduce that, you end up with -square root 3 over 2. Okay, and again, make sure you're not leaving a radical in the denominator. Okay, numbers 33 to 37 odd, we have different directions. It tells us to evaluate now the 6 trigonometric functions of the real number. Okay, so now we're finding the 6 trig functions. Okay, so 33 gives us t equals 3 pi over 4. Okay, so like we've been doing in the other ones, first find on the unit circle where that is. It's right here. Okay, we're on quadrant 2, so our ordered pair for that is -square root 2 over 2, comma, +square root 2 over 2. This is our cosine, this is our sine. Okay? So your sine of 3 pi over 4, like I just mentioned, is square root 2 over 2. Your cosine of 3 pi over 4 is -square root 2 over 2. Your tangent of 3 pi over 4 is sine over cosine. So square root 2 over 2 over -square root 2 over 2. Okay, which reduces to -1. Okay, your cosecant, remember, is our reciprocal of sine. So just 1 over sine. Okay, or take the reciprocal of the answer we just got. So for cosecant of 3 pi over 4, take 2 over square root 2. Okay, multiply the top and bottom by square root 2. So you end up with square root 2 as your answer. Your secant of 3 pi over 4. Again, we're going to take the reciprocal of cosine. So we have 2 over -square root 2. Multiply the top and bottom by square root 2. Okay, so you end up with -square root 2. The cotangent of 3 pi over 4. Again, take the reciprocal. So we have -square root 2 over 2 over square root 2 over 2 reduces to -1. Okay, so very similar to the previous problems that we did, but now we're finding the three trig functions. Okay, number 35. Tangent of pi over 2. So tangent of pi over 2, or our pi over 2 is right here. Okay. So the location of this, or the ordered pair of this, pi over 2, I'm sorry, this should say t equals pi over 2. Okay, is 0, 1, because we know on our unit circle that our pi over 2 is right here. Okay. Again, if you want to write your ordered pair, I'm going to write it bigger down here. We always have cosine sine. So the sine of pi over 2 is 1. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0. The tangent of pi over 2, be careful here, is sine over cosine. Our sine is 1. Our cosine is 0. Okay, since 0 is in the denominator, it is undefined. Okay. The cosecant of pi over 2 is our reciprocal of sine. So when you take the reciprocal of 1, it is still just 1. Secant of pi over 2, you're taking the reciprocal of 0 over 1, okay, which is 1 over 0, which means it does not exist at this point. So your secant of pi over 2 does not exist. You may also write undefined. The cotangent of pi over 2 is the reciprocal of tangent of pi over 2. Okay, so instead of 1 over 0, we now have 0 over 1. 0 divided by 1 is 0. So the answer to that one is 0. Okay, 37, we have t equals, what was this one? Negative 4 pi over 3 is correct. Make sure I wrote that right. So the first thing you want to do is, again, find where that is. So on your unit circle, negative 4 pi over 3 is right here. Okay, we're a family of 3. So remember, your ordered pair is always going to be 1/2, comma, square root 3 over 2, depending on your quadrant. Since we're in quadrant 2, it's negative 1/2. Oh, that should be a negative. So negative 1/2, comma, positive square root 3 over 2. Just like I wrote here. Okay? So evaluating those, remember your ordered pairs are always cosine, comma, sine. So the sine of negative 4 pi over 3 is square root 3 over 2. The cosine of negative 4 pi over 3 is negative 1/2. The tangent of negative 4 pi over 3 is always our sine over our cosine. Okay, clean that up. So remember, you're multiplying by the reciprocal when you're dividing fractions. So negative square root 3. The cosecant of negative 4 pi over 3, take the reciprocal of sine. So it's 2 over square root 3. And again, get rid of your square root 3 in the denominator. So after multiplying the numerator and denominator by square root 3, you get 2 square root 3 over 3. The secant of negative 4 pi over 3, take the reciprocal of cosine. Okay, so it's really negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. The cotangent of negative 4 pi over 3, take the reciprocal of tangent. So it's 1 over negative square root 3. Again, multiply the top and bottom by square root 3. So you end up with negative square root 3 over 3. Okay, so that ends that assignment. If you have any additional questions, email your teacher. Hope everyone's doing well.